The version of you that didn't happen. A quietude story about parallel lives. It usually starts with something small. You're brushing your teeth, or reheating leftovers, or lying in bed, phone hovering above your face like a weak source of guidance. You type their name, you still know how to spell it. You don't even need to think. And suddenly you're not just looking at a profile, you're looking at an alternate biography. There's the one who would have wrecked you. You knew it even then, somewhere beneath the adrenaline. They said things like, "I just love hard," which translated loosely to, "I will monitor your tone and call it intimacy." You remember the night you were 10 minutes late because of traffic, and somehow you ended up apologizing for not caring enough. You remember shrinking your friendship so they wouldn't feel threatening. You remember rehearsing harmless sentences in your head before saying them out loud. You stopped wearing that one shirt because it caused discussions. You stopped mentioning that colleague because it caused vibes. You stopped laughing too loudly because it caused looks. You called it passion. Your nervous system called it war. When you look them up now, they're still intense, still reinventing themselves, still posting about authenticity with a filter that softens everything except accountability. There's a new partner in the photos. The captions are heavy, the smiles are wide. You stare for a second too long. In the life where you stayed, you know exactly who you become. You speak softer, you double-check everything. You learn the choreography of de-escalation. You get very good at peacekeeping, very bad at sleeping. You would have called it loyalty. Your therapist would have called it something else. You close the app and feel it in your body. Relief that is almost embarrassing in its intensity. That version of you did not happen. You did not become fluent in walking on eggshells. You left, even if it took you 3 tries. And then there's the other one, the one that didn't explode, the one that dissolved. No slam doors, no betrayals, just 2 people standing in a kitchen that smelled faintly of coffee, both pretending not to be afraid. They got a job offer in another city. You said, "That's amazing." You meant it. You also felt something collapse quietly behind your ribs. There was a moment, a very specific one, when you could have said, "Stay," or "I'll come," or even, "I don't know how to lose you." Instead, you said something measured, mature, sensible. "We'll see what happens." What happened is that you didn't follow, and they didn't ask twice. Now, when you look at their life, it's not chaotic, it's not theatrical, it's steady. There's a photo of them assembling furniture, sleeves rolled up, someone else taking the picture. You zoom in on their hands like there's a message hidden in the grain. In the version where you went, you live in that apartment. You know which floorboard creaks. You argue about groceries. You host awkward dinners. You complain about rent. You have a drawer there. You imagine the dog's name. You imagine who you'd be in that city. Braver, maybe, less cautious, someone who leaps before checking the landing. You imagine yourself saying things faster, claiming things sooner, not needing certainty as a prerequisite for love. It feels beautiful. It also feels edited, because what you don't imagine are the days when you would have felt lonely there. The fights about money, the way fear would have followed you anyway, the possibility that you would have blamed them for a move you weren't ready to make. Parallel lives are generous in hindsight. They remove friction. They smooth personality edges. They upgrade your communication skills. The alternate you is emotionally articulate. The alternate you does not spiral after rereading a message. The alternate you does not Google how to know if you're self-sabotaging at 1:12 a.m. This you did. This you was scared. Maybe your parents taught you that love required endurance. Maybe they showed affection like it was a limited resource. Maybe you grew up learning that conflict meant catastrophe, or that wanting too much made you difficult. Maybe a teacher once told you that you weren't living up to your potential, and you internalized that as don't overreach. Don't assume you can have everything. Maybe you learned to be reasonable before you learned to be brave. So when that kitchen moment came, you chose the safer script. You told yourself you were being rational. You told yourself distance would clarify things. Distance clarified that people don't always wait. You weren't weak. You were patterned. There's a difference. You visit these lives occasionally. The one where you stayed and slowly disappeared. The one where you leapt and maybe built something luminous, or maybe just different. You grieve both in strange ways. You grieve the catastrophe because you almost mistook it for destiny. You grieve the almost because you can't measure what it would have become. But beneath both is something quieter. You are mourning versions of yourself. The one who tolerated less, the one who risked more, the one who spoke up, the one who didn't hesitate. You imagine them standing somewhere in a parallel timeline, fully formed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They don't exist. There is no fully optimized you living flawlessly in another dimension. There would have been compromise there too, doubt there too, flaws there too. You don't miss perfection. You miss possibility. And possibility is seductive because it never has to prove itself. Eventually, you put the phone down. The room is quiet, ordinary, slightly messy. This is the life that happened, not the one that imploded, not the one that relocated. This one, the one built out of hesitations and instincts and incomplete self-knowledge. You made choices with the emotional tools you had at the time. Some were protective, some were fearful, some were both. You are not the version who mastered everything. You are the version who is still learning, and that matters more than the fantasy. Because this life, the imperfect, ongoing one, still has open doors. Not grand, cinematic doors, smaller ones. A conversation handled differently next time. A risk taken without over-researching it. A boundary drawn before resentment calcifies. You cannot return to the museum and move into an exhibit, but you can build forward from here. The version of you that didn't happen will always shimmer slightly at the edge of your thoughts. Let it. Then come back. This version, breathing, flawed, unfinished, is not a consolation prize. It's the only one with a pulse, and that, quietly, is enough.